What do you get when you take the strongest guard in the game and mix it with relentless precision hitting, the ability to reposition easily during combos, and even the ability to counterattack just about anything in the game? Oh, and make it an agile weapon as well that can charge, abuse, and even mount monsters. Players around the world were talking about this weapon after the beta was released, and for good reason. Welcome to my tutorial on the Lance. The Lance at its core is actually a very simple weapon that is just really versatile, but we're going to cover each of the moves one by one and take this step by step. First off, your draw attack, which means if you're moving forward and you press the triangle button, is this thing called the mid-thrust 1. The thrust is really the core of this weapon. You have two varieties. Let's take a look at them. Here's that draw attack once more. Very nice. And you can do 3 of these in a row. You can do the mid-thrust 1, 2, and a slightly more powerful mid-thrust 3. After the 3-hit combo though, you're stuck. That's the end of the combo. You can't repeat it, but there's plenty of other moves that we can mix in, which I'll show you in a second. One thing to note is the speed in which you hit triangle matters. Here it is with a delay. So you can delay your hits, but if you hit them very rapidly, you can do faster thrusts. So if you're trying to deal out a lot of damage, make sure you're not being too slow on your input. Similarly, you can press the circle button to do an upward high thrust. These are actually slightly more powerful than the mid thrust, but are mainly used to, hit, down below like legs of a monster, or up above so you hit wings, tails, and heads. These two are quite literally interchangeable. You can mix them and come up with your own sort of 3-hit combo. Let's take a look at how that looks here. Forward, forward, up, or we can do something like up, forward, up. Any combination you want. Now the thing that really ties everything together with Lance and being able to be ultra aggressive around a monster is evading. So for this, just press the X button and you'll notice you'll do a back hop. This actually resets the combo, so you can sit here and now do infinite combos by simply doing 1, 2, 3, hop, 1, 2, 3, hop. Here we go, back, 1, 2, 3, hop, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. You can mix it in between any move you want, and it always brings you back to number 1 in the 3-hit combo. Although it does take stamina, you can do up to 3 hops in a row, 1, 2, and 3. This is definitely good for doing repositioning, and again, this is the weapon of precision. So you do stuff like that if you need to get away. If you hold right or left on the analog stick, you can even do a side step to the right or left. Check that out. Again, this is really used for positioning. It's really great to do little micro sort of changes in position, so if you're just wailing on a monster head and they move back a little bit, you can sort of jump forward or to the back or left or right. And you can also chain these together in any combination you want as well. So you can do like left, right, and stuff like that. It is ultra convenient and makes this one of the most mobile weapons in my opinion when it comes to just hunting very close to a monster. You can even do a forward sort of step if you want to, and there is one awesome move which I have to cover, which is the giant back step. So after an attack, when you do it, if you hold back on the analog stick and hit X, you'll do a large back hop. This is very hard to do, if not impossible, from the get-go without doing any input, but after any other attack or any other evade, it's very easy to pull off. This is absolutely fabulous for getting out of the way. If you figure out that you need to get back like that, you can get back very fast. Now while the forward and the upward thrusts are really the bread and butter, we do have another move which is called the wide sweep. Just hit the triangle and the circle button together, and this is also interchangeable with any of the mid or the high thrust. This move, although it's kind of slow, it's really for if you're surrounded by small monsters. You can hit this and it'll whap like 4 or 5 of them all at once. So very convenient if you have monsters around you, or if you have a teammate who may be, let's say, KO'd, he's dazed and he's sort of holding his head or he's fell asleep. Just go next to them and hit the wide sweep and it will knock and wake them and snap them out of it. Okay, now it is time to go into guarding and all the other counterattack stuff that you can do. Lance is really the counterattack weapon in the game, and I think you guys are going to really love this. Let's go ahead and sharpen up. Always a good thing to make sure that you have maximum sharpness no matter where you're at. Hold the R button here, the R2, and we can guard. This is the strongest guard in the game. It is matched by the gun lance, but this thing is pretty crazy. So let's say you're taking an attack, just hit guard and boom. If you notice, it does have some knockback, and it also does deplete a little bit of your stamina, so you'll have to keep an eye out for that if you're guarding multiple attacks from a monster. But as you increase the armor skill guard on your armor, that will get even better, to the point at level 5, you can take Nergigante's final attack straight on and pretty much lose almost no health or stamina. Now, of course, guarding only works if the attack is coming from the in front, so you cannot guard stuff behind you, but there is a cool way to do it, which I'll show you in a little bit. From a guard, you can press the triangle to do a little poke here. So if you want to be a little chicken, let's say you're really close to a monster, you don't know what's really going on, you can just look for little openings and poke them if you really want to. It's also really good for detonating bombs because you're going to be right next to it and guarding the entire time. Now when you're guarding, if you go and you press the circle button, you'll go into the counterattack motion. See that here? Now there is a window of period of time. If you get hit by a monster during this time, you will not take damage, but instead you will do a counterattack. If you hold it all the way to the end, it'll do a much stronger attack here, which I definitely like to do if I accidentally prematurely hit it. But you can cancel out by just releasing it. The cancel thrust is another very aggressive, fun way to do infinite combos. You can do the 1, 2, 3, cancel thrust, 1, 2, 3, and keep it going. It's very cool. And during that transition move, you're safe in case you get attacked. So very convenient, very strong. Now as a new killer feature for the Lance, they added a thing called the Power Guard. During a counter wind-up animation here, if you press the X button, you'll slam your shield into the ground. You can rotate around, and this thing has even higher guarding capability than your normal shield. And if you get hit, you don't lose any stamina whatsoever. This thing is nuts. Let me show you here with the barrel bomb that's kindly provided to us. If you notice, my stamina just stops, and I can start doing counterattacks and other stuff. Again, if you're being attacked by a monster, just go into a power guard, and you're pretty much going to be safe from anything. It even guards from behind, so if a Diablos is coming out of nowhere and you don't know if it's behind you or in front of you, just go and slam into a power guard and you're going to be safe no matter what. It's so cool. Now from a power guard, if you get hit, as you just saw, you can go straight into a counterattack. Boom. And that is the more powerful version of the counterattack, which is also very nice. And it gets Mind's Eye, meaning you're not going to bounce off a hard part of a monster. So if you have a monster with a very hard horn, you could just do the power guard and then the counter strike right into their head, and you won't bounce off. On the topic of guarding, there is one actual really good thing you can do, which is to draw into a guard by pressing R2. This is especially helpful if you go into an area and you have your weapon sheathed, and you notice that you're about to get hit by a monster, just quick hit R2, boom, and you can block like that. Okay, quick little review before we move on to the more complicated moves. We can do our triple poke, we can do it forward, we can do it upward, we can do counter strikes, we can hold it so we can have a big window for a counter, we can do hops in between to the left, right, forward, or back, and we can also hold R to do our big shield. Lance, it's got it all. Wait till you see the next stuff that we have though. Sorry, it's so addicting. Once you start thrusting, it's really hard to stop. Okay, now we're going into the more advanced moves. So as you have your guard, if you hold forward and press triangle, you'll do this thing called the guard dash. This is a forward moving attack which does have your shield out the entire time, meaning you can advance closer to a monster and not have to worry about getting hit during any of it. There is a shield bash which you can do if you press a triangle afterwards. It does do KO damage, so if you're against a monster and you do this enough times, you can KO them. However, this is not a KO weapon, so that's just kind of an extra bonus and not really a main feature. The guard dash is great because you can go straight into your 1, 2, 3 combo from it as well, allowing you again to keep on your onslaught. There is a new move they added as well, which is if you press the circle button during the guard dash, you'll do this forward lunge, and this does 3 weaker small attacks. Now if you're using a lance with a blast element or poison or just any element in general, doing more hits will do more elemental damage than doing one big strong hit. So being able to use this to sort of get some quick hits in is really good. These 3 hits also have Mind's Eye, meaning that if you're going straight at the head of a monster that is hard and you're going to bounce off, these 3 attacks will not bounce off. Now here's another cool new feature that's kind of an advanced tip here. You can do the guard dash in any direction, so you can do it to the right, behind you, in front of you, to the left, any of them. So after that, it allows you to not only reposition in a way that even if you get hit during your reposition, you're still guarding. It also allows you to have really fast access to either the shield bash or that forward lunge. This is just crazy. Once you get used to doing this, you might want to actually replace your sidestepping to the left and right with a guard advance once you really understand the distances and are really good at managing your stamina. I mean, just look at how you can spam this together. If you're hitting something, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get out. You can do a guard advance backwards and be safe the entire time, and then do a large back hop to get out. Here's an example of what the shield dash to the left and right looks like and how it protects you from getting hit. Go ahead and trigger off this barrel and boom, we're protected the entire time. So the whole point of the lance is just a constant onslaught of thrust. Honestly, it's got the reach that not many of the other weapons has as well. Okay, now we're going to talk about some really fun stuff. Hold R2 and press the triangle and the circle button at the same time, and you go into a classic move that the lance has, which is the forward running charge. Check this out. You see this little burst of light that will happen as you run far enough. I think it happens after about 1.5 seconds. Boom. Once that happens, you actually move at a faster speed, and that finisher is actually a double hit instead of a single hit. So I'm going to go and show you it off here. There's the single hit. It's called the finishing thrust. And we're going to let ourselves run forward quite a little bit here. And boom, boom, it's a double hit. So you definitely want to have more distance if you want to use this as a really powerful attack. But the single thrust itself is actually very powerful. Let's say you're charging forward and the monster stops. Well, you can go and hit backwards on the left stick and press the triangle to go ahead and do a reverse attack and go straight into attacking again. You start mastering this and steps and guard advances, you're going to be able to do stuff like this where you're just always safe. It's just really crazy. Furthermore, let's say you went the wrong direction and the monster flew the other way, hit the left stick and X and you can turn around. The dash attack can actually just do a massive amount of just constant hits to a target like this. So it's really good on a downed monster, but it will eat through your sharpness really fast. Don't know if you caught that, you can actually do a sidestep to fine-tune even more using the left stick and X during the dash. And you can even do mount attacks with the lance. So as you're doing this dash attack, you can go ahead and press forward and X and you'll do a jump. You can finish that up with an advanced thrust here, and that does do mounting damage. So if you go and start a hunt by running at a monster, jumping up and striking them, you'll almost always end up doing a mount. So yeah, you can mount just like an insect glaive, but with the lance. I know it's really crazy, isn't it? Here I go again. I can't help myself but go a little crazy when I have a lance in my hand. So that's really all the moves you would need to know, but there are some new terrain-based stuff that you can do, which is the sliding and jumping off. So let's show those off really fast. Go ahead and run up here. The slope in the training area does have a slide to it, which allows you to practice, which is nice. Go ahead and jump, and we can press the triangle button, and we can do the advanced jump thrust again. So this is the same move that we just did with the dash. Will allow us to do some mounting damage. Nothing crazy or over the top, but very nice nonetheless. Any reason you want to be safe as you slide down, you can hit R and you will do a guarding shield sort of guard as you go down, which will make sure that you're safe. It's always nice to have options. If you want to be really aggro, hit the triangle and the X button and the R button in the air, and you can jump right into a dash straight from a jump. These are some things that you want to screw around with. The dash is so OP, if it's something that your hunter can climb up, it won't interrupt your dash at all. You'll just continue going right up it. So running around the environment is actually really, really nice when you have a lance. Now, as you progress in the game, you will get armor, which has the armor skill called Guard. Guard will also allow you to have less knockback from really powerful attacks, and also reduces the stamina loss that you have when you guard an attack. Level 5 is the top, so you won't get this until late game, but even having level 1 or 2 makes a huge difference, so I definitely recommend that you go for armor that has the guard skill. Watch my stamina here, this is level 5. Boop, it's just a little smidgen, that's not even a power guard. So yeah, you can take anything, even the Nergigante, you could take his final attack and it won't even take off like a potion's worth of health, and you'll barely lose any stamina if you're doing a power guard. So let me show you off these basics in practice against the Baroth, the Diabolos, and the Rathian. I think these are monsters that are traditionally incredibly easy to lance, just for the fact that they're monsters that telegraph their moves and they come at you. And because this is a counterattack weapon, it's very easy to just sit back and be like, okay, bring it. So the ridge of his head, you'll notice we get that nasty knockback. That's the one that I was saying that if you do a full counterattack, you can do it without bouncing off, which is really nice. If you ever hear anybody say it has Mind's Eye, that is what they're referring to. This is just an armor skill which allows you to hit a part without bouncing off. Now the reason when you want to get used to doing the power guard is watch, we'll do a counter here. You can't change your direction, so you may find yourself countering into thin air and then having to back hop to get back to the monster. Watch what happens when I use a power guard. I can change my position up to 360 degrees and reposition on where I want to do that counter attack. So the power guard is definitely what you want to get used to using. Lance has incredible reach, so you can just sit here picking on the sort of hanging fruit and just peg off its tail if we want to. The monsters run away, so there's no funner way to chase after it than using the dash. You do have to be careful if you use this online. This will, I believe, knock around teammates, so make sure you're not charging into the back of someone you're hunting with. But this thing is so good for just catching up. Boom! He's already limping, and we're just going to use this and abuse this to catch up. It's that double thrust, feeling really good. Go ahead and just pepper the tail here. You see how the side hops really help with the positioning of getting into where you want to be. Boom! You see how you just turn around like that? This is why you really want to practice and get good at that power guard counter. You don't lose any stamina either. Again, with the forward versus the upward thrust, just choose the ones that are more closer to your target. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to use the upward one if you're trying to hit something like a leg that's in front of you, which can definitely help in tripping a monster, which is always fun. This is a power guard. It's almost like easy mode for the game, I'm telling you. Okay, let's go down and check out Diablos. This is a monster that is really traditionally incredibly easy to lance. If anything, I think this is a very good practice monster for lancing, specifically because it's so easy. I like to hunt aggressive, so I definitely like to greet the monsters with a charge. If I do a jump here, I'll mount it, but I didn't want to mount it right away. I just wanted to attack it. You can see here where those counter attacks can be used to counter an roar of a monster. So if a monster starts to yell, you can counter it and then go straight into attacking. Very, very convenient. So as he charges at you, just counter it. It's really that simple. And you could just keep up attacking and never stop. I do feel bad for some of these monsters. It feels like I'm giving them an enema or something like that. He goes in the ground, just hold your guard and boom, you're fine. Now I do have guard up on this set, so earlier on in the game, if you want, you can guard it, you'll be fine, but if you want to make sure you don't lose any life or just not much stamina, make sure you just hold that power guard. Earlier on in the game, it's not easy to eat and get meal skills that raise your stamina gauge, so definitely make sure to take advantage of those rations or just cooked meat to make sure you have lots of stamina, because that's going to be the real key to having a very safe and fun hunt. He's back in the ground. Let's just do a power guard. Boom. Almost no delay at all when you want to go straight into a counter. This is what makes it so powerful. It's a nice little use of these steps here to reposition. This is how you play the lance. Also a good monster to practice doing the power guard counter and changing the direction with the analog stick here. And boom, you can chase and hit them right in their rear end after they try to hit you. Okay, Rathian is another favorite monster I love to lance because she's very, very telegraphed and does lots of roars and fire, giving you lots of opportunities to practice using that guard advance, the counter, and the power guard as well. And I blow it right here because I'm recording. I play really bad when I press that record button. It's just one of those things. So for her, what we want to do as a lance is either go for that nice squishy head of hers, or we can even just focus on her legs to trip her, which is a good strategy as well. Here we'll just use and abuse that sort of lance charge here. It's racking the damage and racking the status. Boom. Would have been better to actually reposition and hit her head when we did that, but you know what, who cares. Now she's all in rage. Watch this, guard advance, yeah. No flinching at all, because the guard advance again is a guard. When you're playing lance, it's not bad to be right up into a monster's face. In fact, it is the safest place is to be right in front of the monster or at their legs when you're playing with the lance. But anytime you feel threatened, just hit that counter, boom, and you can counter through pretty much about anything in the game. Even stuff like that. How dare she try to get me? Try again. And using these hops and evades over here to slightly reposition in between each of our 3-hit combos. I like to use the guard advance and that forward thrust here to help myself reposition even more. Lance, because you're hitting a lot, does a lot of elemental and status damage because those are sort of applied per a hit basis. Go ahead and see my older videos on how status and element damage works in order to learn a little bit more, but basically the more you hit, the more damage you're going to be doing. It's very easy to get to the initial mount with that jumping attack. I didn't include motion values in this guide. I will include it in my advanced guide if it is publicly known by that point, but honestly the training area has a post you can hit, so if you want to understand the difference of how powerful one attack is versus another, just go and hit the poll. I really don't think that it's such a big deal. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button if you did, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, happy hunting.